Abby. So, last in our story, Katie was at the mall and they were about to go get their haircuts. And she saw George and Kevin. And they were getting stuff for their kite. Well, so Suzanne said they're off to get haircuts and that they were late. Suzanne grabbed Katie by the arm and started to pull her away. Katie lost her balance. She grabbed at George to keep him from tripping, but instead she grabbed his shopping bag and it ripped open. Everything spilled out of the bag. There were bright red pom-poms, a bag of big plastic googly eyes, and a long green and purple ribbon. George glared at Suzanne. "You did that on purpose," he said. "You were trying to make Katie fall." Suzanne shot him a look. "And just why would I want to do that?" "Because you're a spy," George told her. "You wanted to see our kite materials." "You're using googly eyes for your kite?" Katie asked. "I don't want to talk about it in front of her," George told Katie. Suzanne rolled her eyes. "I couldn't care less about your stupid kite." And with that, she stormed off in the direction of Sparkle's salon. "I'm sorry," Katie told the boys. She bent down and picked up the pom-poms and the ribbon. "Be careful around her, Katie Kazoo," George warned. "Remember, she's the enemy." Katie's mind raced back to the weird hairdo Suzanne had created for her earlier in the week. A nervous feeling came over her. Could George be right? Could Suzanne be the enemy? A moment later, Katie walked into the salon. Wow, this place definitely did not look like any hair salon she'd ever been to. "This is amazing. I love it," Suzanne exclaimed. Katie could understand why. Suzanne loved glitter, and walking into Sparkle's salon was like entering a glitter factory where there had been an explosion. There was glitter and sparkles everywhere. There were glitter and sparkles on the ceiling, a glittery rainbow covering the entire back wall, but nothing in the salon was as sparkly as Sparkle herself. She was wearing a shimmery gold dress, which matched her gold glitter-covered platform shoes. Her hot pink hair and long blue nails were covered with glitter too. "Wow," Suzanne exclaimed. "Sparkle looks so cool. I'd love to have an outfit like that." Katie could definitely see Suzanne in a gold sparkly dress, but she couldn't see herself in one. She couldn't see herself with hot pink hair either. "I don't know about this, Suzanne," Katie said. "What are you talking about? Sparkle has such a sense of style," Suzanne said. "Not my style," Katie insisted. "I don't want to wear weird colored hair." Katie turned around to head for the door. That was when she saw that Sparkle was standing right behind her. There was no way Sparkle could have missed hearing what Katie just said, and that made Katie feel awful. She hadn't meant to hurt Sparkle's feelings. Pink hair looked just fine on Sparkle. She just didn't want it herself. But Sparkle didn't seem angry. In fact, she smiled. "Hello, girls. Do you have appointments?" "We sure do," Suzanne said. "Both of us." Katie gulped. She couldn't leave now. That would be rude, and Katie was trapped. Want to see Sparkle? There's Sparkle. It's not in color, but you can see her. Imagine her hair pink and her dress gold, and those gold sparkly shoes. "I'm Suzanne, and this is my friend Katie," Suzanne explained. Sparkle smiled again. "It's a pleasure to meet you both." Katie nodded. Hi," she said, trying not to stare at the glittery blue lip gloss Sparkle was wearing. "So who wants to go first?" Without thinking, Katie pushed her best friend in front of her. "Suzanne does. I can wait." Sparkle shrugged and said, "Okay, however you girls want it. Go into the dressing rooms and put on smocks. I'll be right with you." As she watched Suzanne walk into the dressing room, Katie thought about making a run for it, but she knew she couldn't. Katie shut the door behind her in one of the other dressing rooms. She stood there for a minute, looking into the long, full-length mirror, It felt really strange knowing that this might be the last time she ever saw herself looking normal. Just then, Katy felt a cool wind blowing on the back of her neck. That was weird. There was no window in the dressing room, and no fans either. Where was the breeze coming from? The wind began blowing colder and harder and whirling around her, and it was like a tornado. Oh no, it was the magic wind. Do you remember the magic wind? It made her turn into Louie when they were doing the pizza pies. Remember that? Katy shut her eyes tight and tried not to cry. And then the wind stopped. Just like that, the wind was gone. So was Katy Kazoo. She'd be turned into someone else. 1, 2, switcheroo. But who was she this time? I want something that will stand out when I walk down the runway. I want to be the model everyone remembers. Katy knew that was Suzanne talking, even before she opened her eyes. She would recognize her best friend's voice anywhere. But of course she hadn't gone anywhere. If Suzanne was talking, then Katy was still in Sparkle's salon. So now Katy knew where she was, but she didn't know who she was. Slowly she opened her eyes. She looked down, but instead of seeing her red high tops, she saw a glittery pair of platform shoes. Her nails were painted blue, and she was holding a pair of scissors. Oh no! Katy turned into Sparkle, right before Suzanne's haircut. At the moment, Suzanne was standing in gold glittery robe in the middle of the salon. She was smiling broadly. Katy sighed. Suzanne wouldn't be so happy if she knew who her new stylist really was. Once Katy had gotten gum in her hair and tried to cut it out herself. That was all she knew about cutting hair, and if it had been that had been a big mistake. If Suzanne didn't like her hairstyle, she was going to get very, very mad. Katy could find some way to get out of it. She just had to. You know, Suzanne, I don't think you need a haircut. Your hair looks pretty spectacular the way it is. I know, Suzanne smiled, but pretty spectacular isn't good enough for this runway show. It has to be incredibly spectacular. Katy sighed again. Once Suzanne decided on something, there was no way to stop her. Katy was going to have to cut Suzanne's hair. Okay, Katy said slowly. So what are you going to do? Suzanne asked. It's going to be a surprise. To both of us, she thought. Katy held the scissors in the air and looked at Suzanne's head. She had no idea where to start. At just that moment, the salon door opened and 2 women came in. Katy gulped. They must have appointments with Sparkle, too. You're way too early, Katy told them. Why don't you go home? The women looked at Katy oddly. That's okay. We don't mind waiting. It'll be fun to see what you do with this girl's hair. Katy frowned as the 2 women sat down. Oh, great. Now she has an audience. Don't look in the mirror, Katy insisted nervously. I can't cut your hair if you're staring at me. Suzanne looked puzzled. Why not? I want you to be surprised, Katy stammered. She turned Suzanne's chair around so she couldn't see the mirror anymore. But I want to see, Suzanne insisted. I want to see too, but you wouldn't let me, remember? Katy reminded her. What are you talking about? Suzanne sounded confused. Oops. No wonder Suzanne was confused. She didn't know it was her best friend who was cutting her hair. Suzanne thought Katy was Sparkle. I mean, I never let any of my really special clients find out their haircuts. And with that, we'll stop. I love you, baby girl. I hope you enjoy your story, and hopefully next time we'll be able to finish. And we'll find out exactly what Suzanne's haircut looks like. I love you. Mwah. Sweet dreams, baby girl.